Welcome to Haverchat, a Haverkamp culture cast where we take you behind the scenes here at Haverkamp Group. Hello everyone, my name is Todd Wiesenberg and I am the Chief Culture Officer, and this is episode number 5 of an 8-part series where we are introducing you to the men and women who are the executives and key leaders here at the Haverkamp Group. In episode 1, it was our founder and CEO, Brent Haverkamp. Episode 2 was the president of Haverkamp Properties, Dave Hyman, and in episode 3, it was Zach Ludwig, the Chief Operating Officer for Haverkamp Construction. And in our last episode, our guest was Tanya Betts, the Chief Financial Officer. And today's guest is our Chief Marketing Officer, Jessica Mortvedt. Welcome, Jessica.
Thanks, Todd.
Yes, I've been looking forward to this episode. I really have, for lots of different reasons, and we'll get into that a little bit. But we always want to get our audience to get to know who you are a little bit more and get connected with you. And we like to do that through what we call the 4 F's. So we'd like to hear from, family, fun, and future. And so let's start with the from. So where were you born and raised? And tell us about your professional journey. Let's go with the from.
Sure. So I was born in DeWitt, Iowa, but most of my life I spent in the Cedar Rapids area. So when I talk about where I'm from, it's definitely Cedar Rapids. So I grew up there most of my childhood years and later went to Wartburg College when I went into the broadcasting program there. So they had a great broadcasting program, and that's what I wanted to do initially. And that's also where I met my husband. So we both were pursuing careers in broadcasting, and throughout that time, we ended up getting married. And then we have 2 girls who are now 14 and 17.
Oh,
so,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So let's rewind a little bit and camp at the story. I know there's a story about you and Jason, and when you were both reporters, is that right?
Yeah.
In the Cedar Rapids area.
Yep.
Yeah. So so you met in college at Wartburg, then you worked at competing.
Same TV station.
Oh, same team.
Yep.
It was the same TV station. I wasn't sure about that. But there's a fun story that I'd love you to share about how you were engaged in a meth house.
Yeah. Yeah. This is always like a fun thing to share. So I had a fun idea where I wanted to go do a story that was like an hour away. And my husband, a boyfriend at the time, was like, oh, okay, well, don't forget we have a date night tonight, so hopefully you'll get back in time and we can still have our date night, So I said, okay. So I went and did my story, and I came back and I was all ready to go. It was 5 o'clock, got all my stuff done. And I was like, great, I'm done for the day. And as I was leaving, I got a call from my boss that said, actually, we have breaking news for you to cover. And I was like, I tried to get out of it. I was like, can't the intern go do it? I've just worked all day. I'm ready to go. And they're like, no, you literally have to go to cover this story. So I was like, okay, fine. Which wasn't that's typically what happens in TV anyway. You're told what to do and you do it. So I arrive. It's a alleged meth lab. Fire stations are all set up. The competing TV station was there, and I knew the fire chief. And so he was like, hey, we got this all cleaned up. If you want to come in, you can come get some video inside the house. And so I was like, oh, okay. And so I was just taking my camera down, down to the stairs. And then all of a sudden I see my husband with a dozen roses and in a tux. And I have never felt more confused because I was going to cover a story and then I was just so caught off guard. So that was the proposal. And then after the proposal, we had a nice picture by the fire trucks. And so it wasn't a meth lab. It was actually just, they put smoke in a house or fog machine in a house. And yeah.
So Jason went to some really extreme levels to make this happen. So he worked with the fire department, police people. I mean, in the competing television, it felt real.
His best friend worked at the competing TV station. So I don't think it took a whole lot for him to get a Channel 9 news car there. And then he actually videotaped it for him. So that was kind of a nice.
So there's video of this? I never knew that.
There is video. I I don't know that he likes to share it, but yeah, there is video.
Okay,
yeah.
okay. Well, maybe someday Jason would be kind enough to share that with us, because I think that would be really fun. So, so you were married. How long have you been married, you and Jason?
Sure. So we actually just celebrated our 20th anniversary last September. So so it's been a long time.
Okay. So when you were in Cedar Rapids, how long did you work at the news station?
Yeah, I worked at the news station about 6 or 7 years. So I started as a TV reporter. Then as I became pregnant, it was less fun to be on air. So I started being the 5 o'clock news producer. And then I moved into a web role there. And that was like really big for TV news back then, like diving into having internet coverage and all of that. So that's where I went from there. And then I worked for a ad agency for several years where I worked in their web department and managed that. And then our goal was to get to the Ames area because that's where my husband is from. And so then we found jobs over here and worked in healthcare for several years and then came to here.
I was wondering what brought you to Central Iowa, and it was Jason being born and raised here in Story City, I believe. And so how long ago was that brought you to Central Iowa? How many years ago?
Yeah, so I don't know if you do this as well. I always do it based on how old my kids were at the time. Yes. So Janae was a 10-month-old when we came over here, so about 14 years ago.
Yes. Okay. And then you were working at, was it Mary Greeley? Is that where you first started?
So my husband worked at Mary Greeley, and then I worked at McFarland, and we both worked in the marketing departments. And
you guys are so like parallel in so many different ways.
We work well together.
Yes.
And so, we just it always seems to happen like that.
All right. So let's talk about how you and I first met. It was about 9 years ago, a little actually over 9 years ago, because you're getting ready to celebrate your 9-year work anniversary here in July. Yep. We had a mutual connection, Lawrence Cunningham, so shout out to Lawrence here. But I had heard Lawrence speak, and we were looking for somebody to take over our marketing efforts at Haverkamp. And he recommended you, and so he helped us to get connected. And do you remember our first meeting?
I remember going downtown to the coffee shop, and I remember thinking, I have no idea what Haverkamp Properties is. And not growing up in this area, I just wasn't familiar with how big Haverkamp Properties was at the time. And so, I remember going there and just on a whim meeting with you and thinking like, I don't know if this will be the right thing, but it was an opportunity and I had to take it. Right.
I don't know if I've ever shared this with you. I've shared it with other people, but you really intimidated me at that first meeting. I think it was the fact that you came from the news background and how you interviewed people, but I was like somewhat intimidated. You did a good job of like interviewing me, and here I was trying to interview you, I think. But no, we obviously connected very well at that time. And what I recall is that you had aspirations to grow in your career, and that's what brought you to Cafe Diem, where we met. And talk about where you were at as far as career at that point, and why you really were interested in the next move here to Haverkamp.
Yeah, I loved my position at McFarland doing video and web, and had an amazing team there. But I realized that my boss was planning, she loved her job as well and was planning to stay there a long time. And so I was looking for a growth opportunity where I could eventually manage a team and grow from there. And so I was like, this is a good opportunity to step into a leadership role and to step outside of just video and web.
Yes. So here we are 9 years later, and you are managing and leading. And we'll talk about that a little bit more here in a little bit. But I want to circle back to your family. You are a very close family. You have, and this might even transition to the fun. I know some things about you, obviously. But what are some things you and your family like to do for fun?
Yeah, we enjoy going camping. So we do lots of camping trips. And then our summer is also focused on the fair. So we do the Story County Fair and we do the State Fair, where we actually go and we live at the State Fair for 5 days showing our goats. And so that's a lot of fun. So that's what our summer typically looks like, is lots of fairs and camping, and sometimes camping at fairs. And yeah.
Yeah. Little known fact is you are state champion at the Iowa State Fair, correct?
Correct.
How many
yes.
years running?
Oh, I think at least 2 or 3.
But
yeah.
not with goats. You
Not
mentioned
with
goats.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So we have a lavender farm.
Yes.
And we submit our lavender. I don't know if we'll do it this year or not, but we submit our lavender to compete against all the other lavender growers in the state. And so we have won that in a few different categories over the past few years. So, yeah.
So what? Okay, I'm just real curious. What makes for good lavender?
Sure. So the lavender needs to be obviously in bloom. That really helps to have just a few of them just kind of opening as well. And just, they take a look at varieties. Is it a rare variety? Is it a variety you could just go get at Lowe's? And just, how does it look like at the time? Now, it's not exactly fair because, if you grow a lavender plant, you have one plant to choose from. I have 300. And so to get 5 sprigs of lavender is pretty easy for me, that are at optimal condition.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Sure. Okay. What was it about lavender that you and Jason were drawn to? Why a lavender farm?
Yeah, so I've always loved lavender as an essential oil, and it's just got lots of uses. And so I use lavender everything. And then we went on a vacation and we discovered there was a lavender farm in Wisconsin. And we're like, wow, like if you could grow it in Wisconsin, surely you could grow that in Iowa. And so we live on acreage. We weren't using our acreage for anything at the time other than a small garden that actually wasn't doing well. And so we were like, well, let's just go ahead and try to grow it. And it's really grown from there. I developed a product line that goes with it, and we go to a handful of markets every year. And then we also invite guests onto the farm. So Ativo Trail has visited a few times, and that's always fun.
Yes.
We love hosting senior groups and special needs groups. There's not a lot of walking, and so that's kind of our selling point. And it's something our whole family can get involved in. So our girls are in FFA, and so my oldest has actually been recognized nationally for her projects within lavender, and so that's really fun to see from an entrepreneurship standpoint. It's not just about me; it's about supporting them and giving them really good growth opportunities.
So it is a family business, because I know you go to farmers markets together and you set up, and you have certain products that you sell, and then they have certain products that your daughters sell. Yeah, talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so they are in charge of the lavender lemonade. They have to make it, they have to serve it, they have to, have good customer service skills, and they're getting to recognize how interesting the public can be, how judgmental the public can be, and also how fun the public can be. Sometimes you just find some really fun customers and they're really memorable, and you're like, I really enjoyed serving that person today. So it gives them a lot of skills and learning how to be coworkers, which I think being a coworker with your sibling is challenging. So
Oh, sure.
It's fun to watch them grow, though.
Fun. Talk about being an entrepreneur yourself. How has that helped you in working with an entrepreneur, with Brent?
Yes. So once I started the lavender business, I realized how much goes into owning a business, even on a very small scale. You've got accounting, and you've got your online presence, you've got your customer service. You really want people to be satisfied with what you're doing. And so when you take an ownership mindset, so, that was my particular business, you really start to see, first of all, how successful Haverkamp is, and how it started with one house and it grew to more. And really the success of Brent Haverkamp, you see, like, that took a lot of hard work. That wasn't just buying and, letting somebody take ownership of it. He had to do it himself. And so it really gave me a really good appreciation for all of the work that Brent Haverkamp and his family did throughout the years to make that happen. and just all the things that go into it. It's been a unique perspective, and I'm really glad that I started a business just so I could have a greater appreciation of what goes into that too.
Yeah, I know that you have shared those insights with me and how much you have gained just a greater appreciation. And we both appreciate what Brent has done to grow this company. But yeah, you have kind of a different perspective now being an entrepreneur yourself. So when you think about the future of Haverkamp, I mean, you've been with us 9 years. When you think about the future, where we've come from, where we're going, what goes through your mind?
Yeah. 9 years ago, we weren't publishing prices online. We didn't have tours online. You weren't accepting a ton of payments online. There was just a lot of change in the past 9 years. So when we're looking forward, the next 9 to 20 years, it's incredible to think about all the changes that are going to happen. I think we'll probably start integrating a lot more AI and using that to make our workflows easier and faster. And then I think, it's just a matter of, staying on the latest trends of where are people for social media and what is the hotel industry doing? Hotels kind of lead the industry. So what are they doing from a customer service perspective? But yeah, I think it's just a matter of looking and seeing what the industry is doing and being on the leading edge of that curve. When we went into COVID, we were actually really well prepared for COVID because we had a ton of online tours. And at that time, a lot of companies didn't have online tours. So, just taking a look at what are the things that will help us be ready for anything in the future.
Yeah, I remember that we had a little resistance from the site teams that we were starting to do online applications, definitely had moved to online payments. But the big thing was doing the online applications and how different that was than sitting down with somebody. And but yeah, that really set us up for success as we hit 2020, where we didn't have that learning curve. Again, so as you think about the future, I mean, you primarily started working on the Haverkamp property side. Haverkamp has grown to farm management, to investments. How has your role changed? And actually talk about your first title versus being the chief marketing officer now and how that has all changed.
Sure. So I transitioned this year from marketing director to chief marketing officer. I had been marketing director for about 8 years. First of all, with Haverkamp Properties for several years, and then a year or so within Haverkamp Group, and then transitioned. That role transition is more about, we've always supported all of our locations, but as CMO, my role is to start looking at what are the next things that we need to be doing and help driving our company forward. So being a little less reactive and more proactive. And, I'm looking at things like, what should we be doing from a construction perspective? What should we be doing from a farm perspective? Helping them dream bigger, and just, pushing the envelope that way as well.
Before we went on air here, if you will, we were talking about Haverkamp investments and how this is such a big week and how you're really busy this week. Talk about, some of the things you're doing this week specifically in regards to helping Haverkamp investments.
Yeah. It is always exciting when we have a new fund coming online. There's just a lot of preparations. You've got lawyers that are involved, our property teams are involved. Basically, everyone in this building that we're in is involved. And so that's really exciting. This campaign will be our first Haverkamp Investments Fund. And so that's been really exciting to get them all the tools that they need. We have events that are going to be here with local investors to give them information about our newest fund. And then we also have it in Ankeny, where we're going to be talking about that as well. And then we actually have a webinar where we'll be able to share with people across the country what our next fund is and how they can get involved. And so marketing, of course, plays a big role in just making sure that they all have the tools they need, the pretty booklets, and just, make sure everything tech-wise works for them.
So it's more than just marketing materials. I mean, you actually help with organizing some events. Do you want to just talk about what that might look like in helping with an event?
Yeah. So for this particular fund, we have an event in Ames where we invite investors to our office and we'll share about the details. We also have one in Ankeny because it's an Ankeny fund. And so we'll have an event there as well. And then, of course, online. So we have investors already across the United States. And a webinar is a great way to include them all at the same time so they can have the same information. And it's been really exciting to see how well the Haverkamp Investments team has done so far in recruiting potential investors to come listen to the Haverkamp story and potential opportunities that we have here.
I mean, you talked about it already as far as maybe what a typical day or typical week looks like for you. But yeah, can you share some more what it is that you do on a daily basis? Maybe talk about your team, people that you work closely with. You talked about Chris with Haverkamp Investments. But yeah, what does that look like as a typical day, if there is such a thing?
Sure. The structure of our department has changed throughout the years. Originally, I was, overseeing all of Haverkamp properties by myself. And now we've got a really great team that is handling all of our locations at Haverkamp properties. So a typical day really is interacting a lot with Kenzie, our Haverkamp Properties marketing manager, to support her and whatever their team needs. I used to do nearly everything in the department. So if there's a question, I've probably handled or had that same challenge in the past. And so, just fielding questions with the team, providing some video consult occasionally with Graydon as needed. Lately, though, it's been working a ton with Briar. So Briar is on the Haverkamp group side, and she's really the key person to make everything look great for our other entities. So Haverkamp Group, Haverkamp Investments, Haverkamp Farms, Haverkamp Construction. We're working on all of those brands together. And so her and I work closely on making sure that those other entities are covered and have everything that they need as well. So it's a lot of just, personal interaction and then working with the senior leadership team. I feel like my job is just a lot of removing barriers so that people can do their job. And I feel like that's what I spend a lot of the day doing.
And you do it well. As far as, I always describe you and your role and your team as you guys make us look good. Probably even better what we are. No. You do a great job of helping us look good. And I see that when I literally look outside my office door, because Briar's an office neighbor, if you will. And I see her working diligently on her computer, fine-tuning things, tweaking things, and making sure that whatever gets out there to the public to consume is done with excellence. So thank you for helping us look really good, Jessica.
Well, it all comes down to the team. And, we even have, Tanya, who is the director of First Impressions, really, it's the person you see when you come in. And, she's really done a great job of coordinating all the food for all the events. If you've eaten something at a Haverkamp event, she probably coordinated that and made sure that it was good and works closely with all those caterers.
Yeah, she is a great director of First Impressions here at Haverkamp. When you think about culture at Haverkamp, what comes to mind? How has culture impacted your experience at Haverkamp?
Yeah. I think sometimes you come for a job, right? But you stay for the people and you stay for the growth opportunities. And what I love about our culture is it's a family-focused culture, but it's also a growth-focused culture. And so we're not a company that's looking to be stagnant, to just maintain. We're looking to grow, and that forces the rest of us to also think, like, how can we grow? And so we have very much a culture that promotes growing, reading books, the leadership and training program that you have, Todd, a great program to just continue to promote growth and to push people to be better than they were in the past and to keep growing.
I know you have been very instrumental in helping us shape, our mission statement, going all the way back to 9 years ago when you first started and we started introducing. We had already laid some groundwork with identifying our values, identifying a purpose statement, but then we started to fine tune that as EOS was introduced in our company, and your fingerprints are all over what we have. And you were very instrumental with helping us shape the purpose statement for Haverkamp Group, which is growing together through real estate. And you just talked a lot about growth. So growing not only by 10x, but also growing the individuals as they seek to develop their careers and become better versions of themselves. So when you, again, think about your team, what are some different core values that you see your team living out on a consistent basis?
Yeah. So, hard work is something that I see on a daily basis. When I see Graydon out there schlepping a bunch of gear, and it's not always nice weather, and he's laughing because he's here. Obviously, this is a video.
This is him.
And I have a really big appreciation for video and all that goes into it. It doesn't just happen. Technology goes wrong, and sometimes it needs to be upgraded or replaced, and so that's fun to see. So that's definitely hard work. I see Kenzie, she has been an excellent manager of her team, and she does a really good job on promoting growth within her team. What classes can we take? What steps can we do to improve our level of professionalism and, just keep advancing the person as well. But yeah, really hard work, and then service. So we often in our team don't always think that we provide service, but we actually do. We're providing service to all the other teams, making sure they have all the tools that they need. And so our team does a great job of providing service to everyone in the company and just providing a really positive image. And, I hope that when marketing shows up at all the locations that people are happy to see them because we're there to help.
Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate you acknowledging the service aspect. No question that the marketing team does a great job of supporting and serving all of Haverkamp. And yeah, we wouldn't be where we're at if it wasn't for the people on that team. Sherry, service or stewardship, hard work, accountability, results driven, and integrity. I like to think of you a little bit like the birth mom of Sherry, because you were very instrumental in helping us create that icon. Talk about the creating of Sherry and the icon of Sherry.
If I remember, I think our core values, did we used to we had an acronym like a ship or something?
It was not very good.
Yeah, I think there were two competing acronyms. They're like, well, you can remember like this or this.
Yes.
And from the TV days and the ad agency days, they always talked about if you could personalize it. That makes a big difference. Who's your target audience? Create some sort of mascot or something to make it easier to remember. And so, once we had all those letters, and then it was like one of those games where you keep moving the letters around to see what you could get. I was like, Sherry. Well, Sherry sounds great. That's a person.
Right.
And so, yeah, that was really fun to create. And, obviously she's evolved. Sometimes Sherry wears a farm outfit now or a construction vest. But yeah, that's been really fun to have an easy way for people to remember and a visual way for them to remember as well.
Yeah, many times, as I've shared with other culture champions in my network and talk about our core values and talk about Sherry, we get many compliments or get compliments often about personalizing our core values and how it's like people are like, oh, why didn't I think of that type of thing? So yes, thank you so much for personalizing Sherry and helping us be able to talk about her in a way that, we'll often say, what would Sherry do? Because we want that to be the lens in which we look through as we live out our values. Okay, Jessica, any updates, anything you'd like to share, anything you'd want to celebrate in terms of what's going on in the organization or in your team, anything new?
Yeah, it has been really fun to watch this whole building fill out with people. And so I've really enjoyed watching the growth within this building and the camaraderie that we have here. A really great sense of culture. And then I also enjoy when other locations come here and we can celebrate with them. So I've really enjoyed, when we have leaders in training and they come back here after and we can all meet with them and, celebrate what they've been doing. As far as our team, I think we're just continuing to be ready to absorb new acquisitions, new development projects, new investment opportunities. And so, Kenzie and her team are doing a great job of every time we have an acquisition or a third party that we're managing, just bringing them online and, making sure they have a website ready to go and they have all those materials. So that's been really fun to just be able to constantly absorb all these new acquisitions or third party management. And then also just, supply our other locations, HI specifically, with all the things they need to grow their business and get more investors, which will ultimately help the rest of the company.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. I spaced this off when we were talking about Sherry, and it just, you said something that triggered it. What's your favorite core value? I know it's going to come up when we play Haverchamps here in a moment. That will be one of the quick questions. But I got to ask you, what is your favorite core value, and then why?
Sure. It changes.
Okay.
So I have a lot of favorite core values. I actually have 5 favorite core values.
You got to pick one for this moment. For this moment.
For this moment, I default back to this one a lot.
Okay.
Hard work. Just showing up, and you got to do the work, and you got to be present, see what's next. And so that's probably my favorite core value, because it really supports all the others. If you're working hard, you're wanting to provide good service. If you're working hard, you really want to have good results. And so that's the one we always come back to. I think that's my favorite.
That's your favorite?
Yeah.
I wrote down 2 for you, and they are results driven and integrity. Now, I think, I could probably make an argument for any one of the 5 to describe you, but for this moment, results driven and integrity are the ones that came to mind. I don't know if you recall, a few years back, we did an exercise together as a leadership team. We did the Working Genius by Patrick Lencioni, and the acronym WIDGET, and you identify kind of your strengths as far as a working genius. You were the only one on the team that had the T, tenacity. I don't know if you remember that or not, but that one has stuck in my mind because I thought that was a great way to describe you. And I think that goes back to the results driven, is that somebody who has tenacity, according to Lencioni, is somebody who basically takes that last 10% and makes it good and perfect. And I mean, that's what you do. You are very tenacious when it comes to taking something and putting that last 10% on it and doing it with excellence. So results driven or tenacity is what I think about when I think about you. And then integrity, knowing that you are a person of ethics and morals. So integrity is also something that just bleeds out in you. So thank you for being that type of person in our organization and leading well with that.
Yeah. And one thing, when you're talking about tenacity, I love rocks and I love milestones. They provide us a growth opportunity throughout the quarter to push towards something that we wouldn't be normally doing. Or sometimes it's something we should be doing, but we really need to focus a lot of attention on that. I've only missed maybe 1 or 2 rocks this whole time I've been here. And typically it's usually because it was poorly written or out of my control. And I'm sticking by that, right, Paul? No. So that I really like the rocks, and that's probably why, because of the tenacity, just the ability to see something that needs to get done and then making sure that we can accomplish that by the deadline that's set.
I didn't think of this until now as well, but we both did the Enneagram, and you showed up as a perfectionist. Again,
I know.
That kind of lines up with everything you've been talking about here so far. But
I never really thought about myself as a perfectionist until I did that Enneagram, and then I realized all the moments of perfection looks different than I realized. But yes, that's what I'm often striving for, and sometimes I have to relinquish control and realize that perfection isn't always the end goal. So
which is this is a perfect lead in to Haverchamps and perfectionism. And I'm going to ask you, and you know how Haverchamps work. It's a series of, rapid fire questions. And our leaderboard, we've got Zach Ludwig still at the top, correct? With 27, then it's Dave. And then Tanya moved into 3rd place, although she really wanted to be in fourth place to keep Brent at the leaderboard. I was telling Graydon beforehand, I said, we got to bring Brent back on. It was my first time of doing it. I was the problem. It wasn't fair. Yeah, he should probably like have an asterisk next to his name or something like that.
Records are meant to be broken,
yeah,
right?
So I know you're also competitive. So,
I am competitive.
So I made sure that I had plenty of questions highlighted here that I'm going to rapid fire at you, and you're going to answer as many as you can in 94 seconds, which again is significant. 94 is a shout out to our start year, 1994. And you are allowed 3 skips, so you can, skip at any point if you all of a sudden get brain lock or something like that. You don't know how to answer. But yeah, we're going to see how many we can answer. And then when I get to that, I always finish with a question that may or not, it won't count towards your score, but I always want to know what a person's personal mission statement is. But all right, gave Graydon some time to make sure you got his clock up. You got 94 seconds on that clock, Graydon? Okay.
Here, I better get a drink first.
All right. I got to reposition myself here as well. Make sure I can read this clearly. All right. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Morning person or night owl?
Night.
What is your favorite season?
Fall.
Beach vacation or mountain getaway?
Beach.
Do you prefer books or movies?
Movies.
Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
No.
What's your favorite holiday?
Christmas.
Sunrise or sunset?
Sunset.
Dogs or cats?
Cats.
If you could time travel, past or future?
Future.
Hot or cold weather?
Hot.
What's your guilty pleasure?
Audiobooks.
Okay. Roller coasters, love them or hate them?
Hate them.
Okay. Vegetables or fruits?
Fruits.
Do you believe in aliens?
No.
Favorite board game?
Catan.
Do you sing in the shower?
Yes.
What is your, what's a word that best describes you?
Perfectionist.
Favorite Haverkamp core value?
Hard work.
Project you are most proud of?
Pass.
All right. Favorite part of working at Haverkamp?
Culture.
Describe our company culture in one word.
Fun.
One thing that always makes you smile at work?
The team.
Favorite company event or tradition?
Christmas party.
A skill that helps you in your job?
Perfectionism.
One way you give back to the community?
Volunteering.
If Haverkamp had a theme song, what would it be?
Oh, pass.
Proudest moment in your career?
Pass.
Oh, that's your third one. One thing that makes...
These are deep questions.
I did kind of go a little deeper on you. Now, in fairness, I have asked that question about proud moments to other people.
I know. I should have prepped more on that, but that's all right.
So, I had to laugh because on some of these answers, you answered like with a question like, is it my favorite thing or not?
Or is it the first thing that popped in my mind because I'm competitive?
No, I don't think I know I have never asked anyone else if they sang in the shower, but I had to specifically ask you that because I know that you sing on a worship team at church. And so I know singing is very much a part of kind of who you are and stuff. So I had to ask that question. I'm not surprised that you sing in the shower. So as I stated, I do like to ask that last question to everyone as we start to wrap up here is, if you had a personal mission statement or if you have a personal mission statement, what is it?
Yeah. So as you think about, personal mission statements, there's lots that you could do, and it's probably changed throughout the years for me. But, especially when I'm thinking of in regards to work, it is making sure that I am training someone into my role. Mm-hmm. And so you always want to be sharing information, not withholding information. Mm-hmm. And so I love sharing my video with Graydon, and I love sharing my management skills with Kenzie. Mm-hmm. And all of that. So I think, always sharing with people the knowledge that you have so that they can grow instead of, withholding it just for yourself.
Okay. Yeah, and you definitely do those things, and that is something that's really a part of all of Haverkamp is this idea of making sure that we are replacing ourselves, that we're not in this kind of self-preservation mode, that we're willing to share and develop others and help them to grow. So yeah, you definitely do a great job of that. So as we close, is there anything that you wish you would have said that you didn't? Now's your opportunity.
Yeah. I just really appreciate the marketing team. I appreciate all of the hard work that they do that makes our department look good. Jacob has been with me for nearly my whole career here at Haverkamp. Yes. I think I hired him maybe a year after I started. And so he's going on 8 years. And so he's been an instrumental player in making our business look good throughout the years. And I just have really appreciated, having, the friendly smile of Cheyenne, who loves to engage everybody. And, Briar, who is also very much a perfectionist. And there's no one who loves details more than Briar. And so, it's really fun to see all of the strengths of the team and how we work together for the same goal. And, it's just one of my favorite parts of being here is, raising this great team and looking back and, being like, this is a great team. And I enjoy genuinely all of these people. And I also genuinely enjoy all of the team members. The accounting team is really fun. I enjoy the HG leadership team. That's really grown throughout the years, and the HP leadership team. We talk about culture, and we really do have a great culture, and it's based on good hiring practices of people that match the culture and really want to be here and make it a better place, ultimately to help people find a great place to live. It all circles back to why we're here. And we really just want to make sure that we provide a great housing solution for people, that we provide a great farming experience, that we are doing a great job on the construction team. So it's just a great organization to be a part of. And I'm excited to be able to grow with the company throughout the years.
I want to give a little shout out to your marketing team as well, just because I really enjoy watching them. They like to collaborate out in this space just on the other side of this wall. And just, even last Friday, as we were wrapping things up, there's Graydon and Cheyenne and Jacob, I said you twice. You're just one person. But anyway, the three of you are just sitting out there, had your laptops open, you're working, but you're talking and you're socializing too. But you guys do a great job in the marketing team. And there are other teams that do it as well. But I just am more thinking about, obviously, your team in the moment, and just thinking about last Friday and just sitting out there with them for a little bit as we were wrapping up our Friday. But yeah, it is a fun place to work. And that is what enables us to give great service to all of our customers. So at Haverkamp, we believe that culture is grown with intentionality and care, and that culture isn't just one person's job, it belongs to all of us. So until next time, keep learning and keep leading.